That's right.
We lost that hour.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the world premiere of the Big CUF Sellout, an original play that, if nothing else, is certainly better written and less contrived than the last Star Trek motion picture, about which the author of the present piece remains bitterly disappointed, perhaps obsessively so, sharing his disappointment at any given opportunity, such as this. But on with the show. The year is 2025. After his wife Paula was elected to Congress in 2016, Carbondale Unitarian Fellowship member Rich Whitney spent most of his time in Washington, D.C., where he became a successful lobbyist for Greenpeace. Sadly, Rich drifted away from the fellowship. But while back home in Carbondale during spring break in 2025, his friend Kim asked herself reached out to him and urged him to return to the fellowship for a Sunday service. Our story begins as Rich meets Kim in the Commons area.
Well, Kim, hi, great to see you.
Oh, Rich.
What, you look like you haven't aged a day in the last 10 years.
Rich, you look great. Oh my God, if she exists. I would have thought that you would have been a whole lot more worn after this many years in the Beltway.
Well, a steady diet of righteous indignation does have its side benefits. So, the strangest thing happened as I pulled into the driveway here. A woman dressed in a tutu and dancing on the tips of her toes, what do they call it, on guard or something?
I think you mean on point.
On point, yeah. Anyway, she leaps right in front of my car, forcing me to stop. She pirouettes around, tells me to exit the vehicle, hands me a tag, and then goes and parks my car for me.
You're really out of touch, aren't you? Well, it's the latest thing. It's called valet parking. all the upscale congregations do it. Okay, and you just have to remain competitive in the faith-based marketplace.
Faith-based marketplace? That sounds a little...
Hey Rich, how are you doing?
Oh.
I've seen you so long.
Yeah, it sure has been a long time. How have you been? You're looking well, just like you did 10 years ago.
Well, I've been fine, I really have to admit. But, I've been so active in the fellowship. I'm now chair of the Green Acquisition and Balanced Growth Environmental Task Force.
Don't you mean the Green Sanctuary and Environmental Task Force?
Yeah, well, we changed the name several years ago after the merger and intercreditor agreement with the FOF-TOF working group.
What? Intercreditor agreement? What is FOF-TOF?
FOF-TOF stands for Financing Our Future Faith Through Options and Futures Trading. Sure is a mouthful, so I'm glad when the merger went through.
Futures trading? What does that have to do with our environmental principles, with sustainability?
Sustainability, Rich? Seriously? I mean, nobody uses that word anymore. Boy, you're stuck back in the torpid teens. We're in the roaring 20s.
Look, environmentalism is about our future, right? Well, so is futures trading. It's a natural, holistic connection, right? That's why we push for balanced growth. Environmentalism is still a valid consideration in our overall investment strategy.
Sure. Hey, Rich, you really have kind of drifted a bit from the Unitarians. It's part of our 8th principle.
8 principles? I thought there were only 7.
We adopted the 8th principle years ago. When we go in for the service, you'll find it in your Amazon.com assisted vocalization hymn Kindle. But it goes something like, Candy, you know how that new jingle goes. What's that 8th principle?
Oh, Richard.
Hey.
I haven't seen you in ages. You look just the same.
Yeah, wonderful to see you. You look like you haven't aged a day since 2015.
So, Candy, what were we talking about the 8th principles, and I couldn't remember exactly how that one goes.
Oh, the 8th principle, okay. I'm pretty sure it's respect for the enrichment of life experiences brought to us by contemporary forms of human association, including but not limited to properly licensed corporations, S corporations, and limited liability partnerships, acknowledging their right to participate in the search for spiritual truth, operating in self-regulated consumer-driven mechanisms.
What?
Brought to you by Monsanto, which does, after all, bring good things to life.
Well, that's debatable, considering that it is.
Now, a corporation is not an it. Shareholders are human beings, too, and they have real feelings.
Well, that's true, but as a business entity, their behavior is... Say, is that Rory Jarros over there?
Yeah, that's Rory.
I wonder what he thinks about all this. Hey, Rory!
Rick, how you been?
Yeah, good to see you.
How are you?
Doing all right. You know, it looks like you haven't aged a day in the last decade.
Oh, thanks. You know, I heard you might be coming here today. I've been dying to ask you, who do you think will get the nod in the 2028 race? Bush the Fourth or Clinton the Third?
Oh, I don't know, Bush the Fourth or Clinton the Third. 3 years out seems a little early to start talking about it, although of course they've started already. Bush has dropped in the polls since proposing nuclear winter as a solution to global warming. It is funny though, I used to have to argue to people that there's nothing in our political system that limits us to two parties. Now I have to argue that there's nothing that limits us to two families. Please tell me that you're still making your handcrafted wood furniture?
Oh, yes, I am. Well, except that now I use synthetic wood. It's much more reliable, and I can use my 3D chemical refluxionator to give it just the right shape that I visualize, using the cranial interface, of course. Thank goodness for Apple, Dow, Chemical, IKEA, Hilton version.
Yeah, I'll tell you that my last hotel stay with there was outstanding.
So you don't even use your hands anymore?
Well, I still have to turn on the power and hit the control save every once in a while.
Wow, this is taking some getting used to.
Well, ever since they finished fracking the Shawnee, Rory had to get replacement wood somewhere. Say, are you still in the fight against fracking in D.C.?
No, we lost that battle. Now the fight is against the new extraction technology, cluster fracking.
Rich, I heard about that. Could you explain to us what exactly a cluster frac?
You know, much as I appreciate the setup, Kim, I suddenly feel like I just better not touch that one.
Hey, that reminds me, our task force has a lobbying arm called Faith Marching Forward.
Don't tell me. That's what used to be called Faith in Place?
Sure, yeah, that's right. Only now we are Faith Marching Forward into a brighter future.
Somehow that sounds a lot like telling a dying person to walk towards the light.
Oh, now there's no reason to be cynical. This is still the house of the spiritual journey, you know.
And we are a registered 501c7, slightly for-profit religious organization. And you know, you being a lobbyist and all, I was hoping that you could help us sharpen the optical acuity of our messaging in Washington, D.C.
Optical acuity? Oh, you mean make you look better?
Well, I mean, that's a little retro. Yeah.
Hey, the service is about to start. Rich, don't worry so much about these new developments. Our services haven't changed that much. Today you will hear some of your old friends in the choir. And last week, we had music from the SFT UFO.
Is that like the old UFO?
Exactly, the Subway Fresh Take Unitarian Folk Orchestra.
Come on, guys, let's go.
Good morning. Welcome to the Carbondale Unitarian Fellowship, trademark. A member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, trademark. A registered 501c7, slightly for-profit religious corporation registered in the great state of Delaware, and spreading the good news of liberal and neoliberal religion throughout Southern Illinois and the River region. I'm Brent Sherrard, and I will be facilitating today's service. We're a warm and welcoming congregation celebrating diversity and welcoming all with open arms, regardless of race, ethnicity, theology, sexual orientation, gender identity, corporate identity, marketing strategy, or consumer affinity. If this is your first time here, please swipe your debit or credit card, or let us tag your ID chip at our guest registry for identification and compulsory guest tithing services. Although we do encourage you to purchase at least one item in our gift shop so that we can begin to access your consumer profile. And please join us after the service for coffee, conversation, and chalupas, courtesy of our local Taco Bell franchise. Taco Bell, think outside the bun.
You know, I've always found that think outside the bun slogan to be a little ironic.
How's that?
The more Taco Bell I eat, the more my buns keep expanding.
Say, don't they do that thing where everybody gets up and greets each other at the start of the service?
Well, we had to give that up years ago because it took too long to get everybody back seated. I mean, one Sunday was so bad, Reverend Sarah had to hit the gong so hard she fractured her wrist.
A short time later in the service, Reverend Sarah convened the familiar story for all ages part of the service.
Okay, and who can remember what our theme is for this month? Tommy, how about you? Tommy.
Community.
That's right, community. And what have we learned about community so far? What does it mean to you?
Wait. It's about people coming together, either online or in person, to help each other out.
Very good, and Billy?
It also means people sharing and trading resources, either locally or through shared affinities, whatever that is.
Oh, I know.
Well, let's give Billy a chance to finish.
People with shared affinities, sharing and trading resources, whether by gifting or by using a monetary medium of exchange authorized by law.
Very good, Billy. So when we're talking about community, we're not just talking about me, are we? No, a community can't be just about me because it's about bringing numbers of people together. So it can't be only about me. But you want to know a funny thing? Community can't be just about me, but it can be about I. And do you know how it can be about I? Well, it can be about I because just this week, Apple introduced the new iPad Megatron 6000. It's so thin you can't see it without the special goggles. So that's right, the iPad Megatron 6000 has age-appropriate applications for all users, helping some of our friends in the community, who we call marketers, project future income streams and consumer behavior. This helps inform you about available products and services made by corporate members of our community, so it can help people help each other. And that's what community is all about, right?
Yeah.
Very good. And now as our children head off to religious education class sponsored by Southern Illinois Healthcare, good people, good medicine, good luck. Let us send them on their way in song found in your Amazon.com Kindles on the third tab. Go now in peace, go now in peace.
By this time, Rich was just flabbergasted. He couldn't believe what he was seeing and hearing. What on earth had happened to this fellowship? And why? Rich needed some answers. Finally, it came to him for the time of their joys and sorrows.
My name is Charles Ruffner, and my sorrow is that the morons who run my 401k held on to their municipal bonds even after Chicago had gone bankrupt. I know this has happened to a lot of you, so I'm not alone here. They failed to unload their holdings in the for-profit PTSD treatment center speculative bubble when that bubble collapsed. So now I have to rethink my whole retirement strategy. Thanks for listening.
Rich Whitney, and I've been absent here for a long time, and so this is actually kind of a mixed joy and sorrow. The joy is that it's really great to see all of you and renew my connections here, but the sorrow is, to be blunt, I'm dismayed, actually shocked, by all the rampant commercialism that seems to have taken place here. I mean, I thought this place was supposed to be a refuge from all that, a place of building bonds of friendship through shared good works, shared educating of one another, and a shared search for spiritual fulfillment with like-minded people. But you've let the money changers into the temple. I don't understand what's going on, and it's very disturbing.
Should I explain it to him?
Yes.
Oh, Rich, I can appreciate that this is probably surprising to you. It all started back around 2015, I think. Our stewardship drive that year, I think it was called, oh gosh, what was it? Relighting the propane, something like that. Frankly, it was kind of a dud. We just weren't getting the kind of commitment from our members that we had expected compared to years past, so we just couldn't get that pilot light lit.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. If I recall correctly, the campaign was kicked off with some sort of skit during a Sunday service that really kind of bombed. In fact, if I remember correctly, the guy who wrote it actually made himself the main character. I mean, if you think about it, what kind of jerk would be so vain to do something like that? But oddly, though, I can't seem to recall who it was.
Oh, I sure recall that. But that's not the point. It just didn't work out. So we had to kind of go in a different direction, adapting. And then when Governor Rauner signed the slightly for-profit Religious Corporation and Free Market Faithiness Act of 2016, we just did what we had to save the fellowship. What you perceive as selling out was, to us, making a necessary adjustment to a difficult, changed paradigm. In fact, the next year's stewardship campaign was, "Brother, can you pair a dime?"
Well, thanks for the explanation anyway. I just wish there was some way I could go back in time somehow to help change this.
This sounds like foreshadowing. But can foreshadowing come after an event? Rich certainly hopes so. And he clung to that hope that he might yet feel better when he heard his old friends in the choir do that week's anthem.
The Bank of Carbondale, neighbors you can trust.
Now offering triple reverse credit default swap mortgages at a fixed rate that varies.
The Bank of Carbondale, safe from boom and bust.
No annual fee for the first 30 days. Bad credit history? We'll write you a new one.
The Bank of Carbondale, we're all friends.
No, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Somebody please make it stop. Somebody please make it stop. Somebody please make it stop. Where am I?
Rich, you're having a bad dream. You're okay.
Where am I? What year is this?
This is 2015. It's March 8th, 2015.
Oh, I was in this strange place in the future, but it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you were there. And you were there. And you were there.
Oh, Rich, we dream lots of silly things when we...
Oh, but this was a real place, and it was a place like the fellowship, but it was different. Some of it not so nice, but I'm glad to be back home. There's no place like home. But come to think of it, I do have one question.
What's that?
What are you all doing in my bedroom?
Oh, that. That's just a gaping hole in the plot, left there because the author couldn't resist working in the obvious cultural reference to The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, crap, I don't think that explanation will fly. How am I going to explain this to Paula?
Well, there is one other possibility.
What's that?
This could still be part of the dream.
Of course, that's it. That's a good plot device.
No, it isn't. It's hackneyed and shop-worn.
But that's the only explanation. I am still dreaming, and you are all the spirits of the fellowship yet to come. So please tell me, great spirits, are the things you have shown me a shadow of the fellowship as it must be, or only a shadow of the fellowship as it may be? Surely you did not show me this vision if you intended to lead me without the power to change it.
You gotta be kidding me, Rich. You stole lines from The Wizard of Oz, The Twilight Zone, and A Christmas Carol in less than 1 page of script.
I prefer to think of it as sampling.
Well, let's answer his question. Yes, you are still dreaming, although I wouldn't rule out hallucination. And no, the vision of the possible future of the fellowship that you've seen is not what it must be.
And we actually agree with you that this is a place for building bonds of friendship through shared good works, shared educating of one another, and a shared search for spiritual fulfillment with like-minded people. It's a place to find other inquiring people of good will and good hearts with whom to share the quest.
But it doesn't just happen by itself. If we want to have this physical place, a guide like Sarah, and all the other good things that come with the fellowship, we have to make a commitment to maintain it.
So yes, we can have a much brighter future here at the fellowship. And the way to achieve that is no mystery. We just have to make that shared commitment, an act of caring, really.
By George, I think she's got it. I think I can wake up now. Wow. What a strange and yet inspiring dream. So what might I do to help the fellowship rekindle the flame? I suppose I could bring some matches, but I think that might be taking the theme too literally. Of course, I need to share my dream, not simply as a cautionary tale, but to inspire my brothers and sisters of the fellowship to do greater things with what has been left by those who came before us. I think I shall write a short play.
And so we come full circle to this time travel paradox. Rich's play was written, which we know because you just saw it. But the next chapter cannot be written by him alone. Will we rekindle the flame of this fellowship? That chapter, my friends, can only be written by us.